Justice didn't just take off her blindfold in New York City, okay? That heifer put on a partisan t-shirt, clocked out early, and then let a law student run the docket. What am I talking about? Do you guys remember Savannah Craven? She was the pro-life activist that was punched in the face on camera by a pro-abortion orangutan zealot. Wasn't that long ago, so I'll refresh your memory, but that's basically what happened. Well, I am here with an update. Unfortunately, Alvin Bragg's office managed to misplace the entire case file right into the trash. Do not tell me that there is absolutely not a two-tier justice system in this country. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is Manhattan policy playing out, and we need to talk about it. So let's get into this. Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm your host, April Chapman, and welcome to today's show. So if you guys have been with me, you may remember the story from a few months back of Savannah Craven. Savannah is the beautiful young conservative woman who was up in Harlem doing the man on the street interviews about Planned Parenthood. And there was this woman by the name of Brianna Rivers who was unable to engage with a disagreement or someone who was presenting arguments against her deeply held presuppositions. And in the course of that discussion of the disagreement, this young woman punches Savannah in the face and then takes to social media to celebrate it and justify it and explain that she was in the right to do it because Savannah rage baited her into that discussion. It is all on video. There are no guessing games here and what happened. There's no he said, she said. We saw it all. And to bring you up to speed, let's just go ahead and take a look at this.
You have a channel?
Yeah, we're doing some interviews today. Such a good vibe. Should we kill the kids in foster care? And
Why not? Why not, if that's the case?
We should kill the kids in foster care that aren't wanted?
Who's going to take care of them? I need to know the percentage of people who take children from foster care and abuse them and molest them, who makes them like personal slaves.
We should just kill them.
Statistics before you come to me talking about pro-life.
We should kill the victims of molestation.
I think, what does this have to do with molestation?
You just mentioned people molesting children. We should kill the kids in foster care is what you said.
What I'm saying is in general, overall. If I don't want to have a baby, I should have the choice to.
Just don't have sex then.
Even as teens, people explore. And it's like, as funny as you want to be, people should still have the choice. I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child.
I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused.
That's not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really...
So you had an opportunity to watch that. It is very unsettling to see that demon effectively manifest on camera. But now we have an update to this story, and we have Savannah in her own words basically telling us what happened. We all thought that this was going to end very differently. Brianna Rivers was ultimately arrested, but reportedly, even though she was charged with felony assault, after having a chit chat with the prosecutors, this felony somehow gets downgraded to a misdemeanor. Despite the video evidence, despite there being over $3,000 in medical bills, and then check this part out. This gets really rich. The misdemeanor gets dismissed on speedy trial grounds because the DA's office failed to file a certificate of readiness. Translation, they didn't do their homework, so the clock ran out. I'll let Savannah go ahead and explain this to you guys. Take a look at this.
On April 3rd, 2025, I, Savannah Craven Entau, was brutally assaulted in the streets of Harlem while conducting interviews on Planned Parenthood. The entire shocking interaction was caught on camera by my husband, leaving no doubt that the assailant, Brianna J. Rivers, was not only guilty of aggravated assault, but also exulting over her own vicious criminal act. Rivers was arrested and reportedly charged with felony assault. But after an interview with 2 prosecutors, I was informed that the felony had been downgraded to a misdemeanor. Despite indisputable video evidence of brutal assault and battery, producing significant injury, trauma, and resulting in over $3,000 in medical bills. Over the next few weeks, the office of the New York District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, infamous for its 2-tiered system of justice that favors criminals over victims, failed to pursue the case. On July 23, 2025, I find out the prosecution simply allowed this misdemeanor to be dismissed on speedy trial grounds, apparently due to the prosecution's failure to file a certificate of readiness. I was never advised by the prosecution that my case had essentially been abandoned. As a matter of fact, the prosecutor assigned to handle my case isn't even admitted to the New York bar, just an inexperienced law school graduate. Yet he was able to handle my case under a student practice rule, which is supposed to apply to only very minor offenses. Prior to the dismissal, the prosecutors failed to communicate with me and with my lawyers. And the failure to communicate continued after my lawyers intervened on my behalf to try and find out how this case could be dismissed. To this day, my lawyers and I have received 0 reply, despite multiple text messages, emails, and phone calls. It is inconceivable that a violent assault case such as this, one that received widespread media attention, including that shocking video, would be put into the hands of somebody not even admitted to the New York bar, who then allowed for the case to be dismissed. It is hard to avoid the conclusion that this case was deliberately sabotaged. To this day, my assailant, Breonna J. Rivers, continues to show 0 remorse and make jokes about her act of violence toward me and other pro-lifers. I do not want clicks, fame, or sympathy for what happened to me. I want justice for the countless pro-life and conservative activists that go out and peacefully stand up for what they believe in. And justice for the thousands of preborn children who will be aborted today, tomorrow, and the next. No one on either side of the aisle should experience physical violence for using their First Amendment right. Shame on you, Alvin Bragg.
And so, you guys, this is just horrible. This is horrible. When I listened to Savannah give us an update, I was like, this couldn't get any worse. But learning that the person who handled this case, according to Savannah, wasn't even a New York admitted attorney, but rather was some inexperienced law grad appearing under a student practice rule. And usually, you guys, this mechanism is meant for minor offenses, not some violent felony assault. Yet this violent assault that garnered national attention, Savannah was on Fox News, like everybody heard about this story. This did not warrant some rinky-dink law student handling this. But this violent assault was basically put into the lap of someone who hadn't even been admitted to the New York State Bar yet. I mean, you can't make this up. And then to make it worse, Savannah indicates that there was no communication with her or her attorneys. Calls went unanswered. Emails were ignored. Basically, the case has just gone into thin air. So I need you guys. You can't convince me that Lady Justice is blind. Okay? When it comes to Alvin Bragg's New York, that heifer is peeking through the blindfold, checking to see, well, what ideology do you belong to? And if it's not the same ideology as me, then we're going to treat you differently. If it doesn't align up with the liberal left, they are absolutely telling us that they are determined not to care. And it is so blatantly obvious at this point. So we need to just call this out for what it is, y'all. This is Jerome Crow justice. This is basically, we're looking at monarch-sponsored tyranny, subjugate dressed up as equity. Okay? I mean, you saw it. In this case, according to the left, Breonna is the real victim, not Savannah. No. You see, the left, who we'll just call the custodians of chaos, they'll just ignore actual crime when it threatens their narrative, and then they'll manufacture crime when it helps their politics. So if you're a pro-life woman who gets punched in the face on camera, no, you're not the victim. No. You rage baited the perpetrator and made her hit you. This is your fault. How dare you stand on the streets of New York and argue in the affirmative for the pro-life position? And then when your case hits the courts, why are you shocked that your papers get shuffled? This is your fault, remember? But if you're a leftist, because, if somebody hurts your feelings, all you can expect is to get a slap on the wrist, and then you get a GoFundMe set up in your honor. That's how this works. Do you see how backwards this world has become? I pulled a few scriptures that I wanted to share with you guys because I still can't believe that. I can believe that this is the outcome, but I am not happy that this is the outcome. Proverbs 17:15 says, he who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous are both alike in abomination to the Lord. Y'all, that's not my opinion. That is what the Bible declares. When a district attorney's office downgrades, delays, and then dismisses a violent assault while stonewalling the victim, that is literally justifying the wicked and condemning the righteous. I don't see how else this verse cannot apply perfectly to this situation. And then spare me the speedy trial song and dance. No, the state owed the people due diligence. They owed the people that. But I believe, mind you, the district attorney is supposed to work on behalf of the people and prosecute the crime. But do you see how Alvin Bragg handled it? I believe that they purposely ran the clock out. They failed to file. They let this case die on purpose. And so this sends a message to the violent activists, which is if you hit the right people for the right reasons, we'll look the other way. We don't see nothing. We don't know nothing. We just gonna ignore it like it never happened. That is what you can take away from how they have handled this case. Here's another verse that I want you guys to ponder. Ecclesiastes 8 verse 11, it reads, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. Do you want to know why street intimidation is up? The reason why street intimidation is up, because it says here, when the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. You're going to continue to see mobs trying to shout down speech in the street because when you fail to prosecute appropriately, it's an open invitation for people to act a fool and to participate in mob top violence. They'll think it's okay to haul off and punch you in the face because they didn't like your words. And they like, well, I know if I punch you in the face or stab you or do this, that, and the third, that the district attorney is on my side. Because all I have to do is say, well, they rage baited me. They triggered me. And then they end up walking away with nothing happening to them. This is disgusting. You have to be living under a rock to not see what is happening here. Another verse, Isaiah 5 verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. In a sane society, you would think that punching a woman in the face for her viewpoint would be considered evil. I do not want to take away their right to say it. How else am I going to be able to teach my children to discern good from evil if they never hear the opposing viewpoints? But in this situation here, violence is considered community care because the speech that people speak that they don't like is considered the violence. But the violence itself is, well, you just did us a favor and took care of the community. Another verse, Romans 13 verses 3-4 says, the civil magistrate is not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. For he is the servant of God, meaning the government, the civil magistrate, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. You guys, government's job is to punish evil and protect the innocent. So that means you having a district attorney who's effectively not doing his job. When the rulers trade the sword for some sort of ideological hashtag, they stop being ministers of God and they become a woke warden, where they are ideologically enforcing the law, but not doing so in a just and equitable way. This is wrong. Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 4. So the law is paralyzed and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, so justice goes forth perverted. Y'all, New York is not just broken by accident. This is how they do. This is policy. This is their priority. This is what they want to happen. And this is what happens when the deacons of dependency run the temple of justice. This is what is the outcome. This is the result. So the question is, do we just sit back and say, oh, well, I guess it didn't work out in Savannah's favor? Like, what should we do now? You know, I personally was hoping for a different outcome in this case. But unfortunately, this is where we're going to have to strategically rethink how we do things, right? I want justice, but I also want to empower my audience in case we ever find ourselves in a similar situation. I want us to be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. And so I've put together like a list of things that I'm like, okay, what could we practically do to prepare ourselves, or to at least circumvent or prevent something like this from happening in the future? And so here I've got a list of 7 things, actually 8. 1, document everything. For example, like I don't think we should shy away or cower in fear from engaging with people that we disagree with just because these leftists are deranged, right? However, we got to move different. We need to move and operate a little differently than before. Different times call for different measures. And so I am saying document everything. If you're engaging the public in any way, record it. Body cam, phone, get you a buddy system. Make sure that your audio is clean, time-stamped. Evil hates the light. And so we need to be armed with as much light as possible. Number 2, lawyer up. Okay, I'm to the point now, we may need to even keep a rainy day fund on hand and find some pro-America attorneys and keep them on retainer. Because now hear me, I'm not your attorney. This is not legal advice, but it may be important to retain competent counsel and have them on standby who knows your jurisdiction well, right? Push for communication rights. Demand updates in writing. Make sure that your attorneys are holding these people accountable. Number 3, we need to be proactively doing what's called a file. We need to file what's called a Freedom of Information Law request. Freedom of Information Law. It's called FOIL. FOIL it, right? And essentially that includes requesting communications, charging decisions, anything pertaining to how a case is handled. You need to request that information because these bureaucrats, they get away with a lot, and they do so because they believe that nobody's watching. And so we've got to change that. The bureaucrats will start to behave when they know that we, the people, are watching them. 4, file complaints. File formal attorney's office, right? The state oversight bodies where applicable, grievance committees, whatever course of action that you can take, you should. Okay? So many of us have an audience, but my question is, we have to at least start leveraging the audience that we have and the influence, because what is the point having this audience and influence in this machine of people behind us if we don't actually influence them to take action when stuff like this happens? So being factual, not frantic like the left does, right? But we need to absolutely empower our audiences to file complaints. And this can be done in a myriad of ways, sending emails, phone calls, letters, whatever it takes. Like, for example, using automation, you can have form letters populated as long as, if your people are willing, if you got a website, host these types of things on your website. I don't know. But This is just not okay. Something else practical. And I've been guilty of this, bemoaning jury duty. But if you get called to serve, don't duck it. We should absolutely serve. We should be the sober minds in the rooms on these juries, because the left stacks the system with activists because we stay home. So if we start using our voices and making sure that when called for jury duty that we show up, that is just something small that we can practically do and look at it as a duty to serve versus as an obligation that we bemoan. Number 6, vote like it's local, because it is. Okay? Listen, these Soros funded DAs, they are elected because people at the local level are putting them in office. The school board, the city council, these district attorneys races. That is where freedom lives or dies. And we're seeing that in this New York jurisdiction. If your district attorney won't punish violence, then you need to vote them out. Get them out of office. And the way to do that is to do it at the ballot box. Stop voting for these people based on their melanin count and look at what they ideologically believe. If a DA runs saying, we're going to go after this one particular person, that should give you a sign that they should not be trusted. They are telling you that they're not interested in prosecuting crimes, right? The crime hasn't been committed yet, but they're actually using their office to go against their political opponents. Number 7, build parallel institutions, meaning we need to be supporting legal defense funds or policy groups and nonprofits or even media that takes the time to expose this kind of rot. Okay. I am active in a number of organizations, but I think we should be supporting the ones who are actually doing the work. Look at how your charitable contributions are given and start giving to the organizations that you know that you can count on, so that when things like this happen, they're going to have our people's back. And then 8, particularly if you are active in pro-life ministry, we need to train for de-escalation. Pro-lifers, if you are in a blue city, you know that there's a target on your back. Get some de-escalation training. Be unprovocable. Like, just the love of Christ is protecting you, but put those walls up. Film them, but don't let them bait you. But be unprovocable. And so those were just a few things that I did some research to figure out, what could we practically do to circumvent this and keep this from happening in the future. But as I wrap it up here, to Alvin Bragg and that whole entire district attorney's office, your job was to do justice, not jury rig the process to fit your politics. Okay, downgrading, delaying, and this dismissing this violent assault case caught on camera, that is just shameful. That is shameful. How do you place a case like this under student practice appearance when a pro-life woman carried the consequences in her body and in her bank account? Shame on you. Not because Savannah is conservative, but because you swore an oath and you broke it. So you need to be called out. Evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand it completely. And so if you don't, Alvin Bragg, understand justice, step aside for someone else who will. That's all I really have to say to him about that. Jesus told the story of the persistent widow, who she kept coming to an unjust judge until she got the relief that she was looking for. I'm pulling this story from Luke 18, verses 7-8, and it reads, "And will not God judge? And will not God give justice to his elect who cry to him day and night? Will he delay over them?" You guys, God hears, okay? We just keep on knocking and keep shining the lights. We don't lash out, but we absolutely do need to stand firm. And my message to my pro-life family, guys, we are here and we are doing the work that we do. And we do so by biblical conviction because we believe that every human life bears the image of God. We don't believe that because it's a feeling deep down inside, but it's because it is an affirmative and it is an objective truth claim. God's word declares it. And that's all that we need to know. So that means the work must continue. So while this work is not easy, our reward is in heaven, and the Lord is absolutely pleased with this work. So don't stop. We're told in scripture to count it all joy when these fiery trials come upon you. And so that basically implies that the trials are going to come, but when they do, we count it all joy. That is what the scriptures teach. So if you stand with Savannah and with peaceful free speech, I want you to share this video, like tag some local officials. We need to demand equal justice under the law, not this Jerome Crow under ideology. Okay. And I want you to drop a comment. If you're in a city and you're seeing a very similar two-tier justice system, tag your city down below and tell me your story. And so I'm just curious to know, what do you guys think? Were you surprised that this is how it ended up? Or you can't believe how blatantly obvious the ideological bent is in opposition to Savannah and in favor of the leftist lunatic who punched her in the face. Whatever your opinion is, leave me a comment down in the description box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. I'm praying for you, Savannah. Grace and peace.